Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. In today's video, we'll be reacting to people's reaction to Paris Saint Germain beating Aston Villa 3-1 in the UEFA Champions League. First video we have here is Paul Merson, set to discuss quickly the game.
So all over in Paris, 3-1 is the advantage PSG will take to Villa Park next Tuesday night. Is that an advantage that Villa can turn around, Merce?
I would have to say no. I hope that that they'll need an early goal. I don't see PSG not scoring at Villa Park. I think one goal. They defended so well. They've just been undone by three unbelievable goals, all three of them. But they defended well. Martinez didn't have to be. He made a couple of good saves. Wasn't like Alisson was in the last round, and they were a little bit of a threat on the counter attack. It's just a shame. I mean, if it was 3-1 after 70 minutes, you can sort of half swallow that. But to 92nd minute to let in that third goal, and they didn't. PSG were by far the better team. Don't get me wrong, but for the way Villa defended, they deserved to probably come away with a 2-1.
And it all started so well, didn't it, with Morgan Rogers opener as
well. I mean, I agree with most of the stuff he said. Like, Villa could have actually just defended and been focused a little bit more towards the end and kept it 2-1, and that would have been, the game would have been more open. All they need is one goal at Villa Park and everything. But he agrees that the tie is pretty much over, which it is. But then at the end, he says Aston Villa deserved a 2-1. Is he talking losing 2-1? Wait, let me listen back to that.
They deserved to probably come away with a 2-1.
And it all started so well, didn't it?
Okay. I'm guessing for his sake, a 2-1 defeat. I don't think so. I think Paris Saint Germain completely outclassed them in every single way. Sure, their game plan was to sit back and defend, but I don't think it was having one opportunity for 90 minutes. So, no, I don't think 3-1 is a flattering scoreline. Obviously, because the goal came at the end, you want to play that gimmick, but no. Paris Saint Germain, I don't like the word deserved, but no. Paris Saint Germain's performance was at least a 2-goal victory. Their goal was heavy for Fugazi. That was not deserved. They deserved to walk away with 0 goals. If we're going to use the word deserved. Let's go to the next one.
Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa. Match reaction, PSG 3, Aston Villa 1. If you are new, subscribe, help me out, get on board this journey with us, which we are proud to be on. Now, make sure you are hitting the like button and comment your thoughts on the performance, what we've seen tonight in the Champions League. I mean, PSG, what a team, man. They're so good. They are very, very good. And I just felt like 2-1, and we go back to Villa Park with a slight chance to remain in the game. And, anything can happen, but 3-1 against this team. Back at Villa Park, 2-goal swing, really, how we've got to look at it. It's, very, very difficult. It's been a long, long evening. They are exceptional. I mean, that movement that they've got. Rotations, movement, so good, so slick on the ball, so dominant. But I feel like Villa defended our box pretty well. For the large parts of the game that we had to defend, we were compact, we were organised, we were...
Yeah, I mean, there's so many sequences when you can see 12 Aston Villa players, including Martinez, in the defensive box. And Paris Saint-Germain only had one big chance for 90 minutes. So, yeah, it is true.
Able to defend and keep them out. And yeah, just difficult. I'll break through the goals. We went 1-0 up, guys. We went 1-0 up, and John McGinn absolutely steamrolled through the midfield. Played a great ball to Rashford to Tielemans, and Morgan Rogers put us 1-0 up. And, at that part, they'd had a few, little half openings, PSG, but we were in the lead, and you were thinking, let's get to half time and see where we are. But, I mean, what a hit that is. It's exceptional. It's unbelievable. It's world class. And this is the phase of the Champions League that we're in, aren't we? We're in the very, very best, and the very best can produce moments of absolute brilliance. And it was a great hit. Could we got a bit closer? But I just think, we're nitpicking here really, because they're just exceptional. They're so good, and could have closed it. But these top players just find that space, find that yard, and it was a great strike. But we went in at half time 1-1. And you're thinking quarter of the way through this whole tie, we would have all took that at half time, and then we got sort of sucker punched, which again is showing how good PSG are. The fact that we started to play a little bit at the start of that second half, and we got done on transition. Disasi got turned inside out, and Kvaratskhelia absolutely buried his shot.
And that's a good point. Like, Aston Villa sat back the entire game. Then in the second half, they were like, let's play football with PSG. The first chance, we got good amount of space. We countered so beautifully. Hakimi to Dembele, back to Neves, to Hakimi, to Fabian, to Kvara, and then he cooks. But obviously, if Villa were sat back in their position, that goal probably would have not happened. But it was just Aston Villa for one moment thinking they could go toe-to-toe with Paris Saint Germain, and they just got punished. I think that was the first time we got that space up until that moment of the game.
Into the roof of the net. And again, I think one of the things that I've spotted with PSG, which is something that they do really well, is that when they are in and around the box, they take those little drag backs that just sell the player and opens themselves up with an extra yard. And they're so good at that. We saw that for the final goal. We saw Mendes sort of do a little drag back that sold the keeper, and he's able to find that little bit of space and fire it into the net. But you know, I can't be critical, guys. I can't come on here and be that frustrated with Villa. PSG are like a level above what we are, and it's tough to say, but that's what they are. All over that pitch, they are levels above, and I feel like we did well to stay in it for as long as we possibly could. Again, in a very difficult environment, in an environment where they're absolutely smashing teams left, right, and centre. And the fact that we were able to stay in it for as long, I'd have just loved it if we could have just got it just to that one goal and took it back to Villa Park. But
I mean, look, Aston Villa, if they want to prop themselves, because I think Villa fans before saw PSG as a great team, as one of the best teams in the world, a team better than Villa. But I think people need to understand this just isn't the best team in the world. This is going to be a generational team. This is going to be a team to be remembered. As we remember Pep's Barca or Zidane's Madrid in the Champions League, we'll be remembering Luis Enrique's PSG if everything goes right. But no, it's a huge level between the two clubs. But as I mentioned, I think Villa have to take a lot of prop. This was one of the most frustrating games for a PSG fan to watch in terms of chance creation. We only had one big chance created. I can't remember if that has ever happened to us this season, where we've only had one big chance created. Even against Arsenal away, I think we had at least 2-3 big chances created. Like, Aston Villa defended and had basically, I mean, their plan, their tactic worked really well. It was just the individual brilliance that decided the game for Paris Saint Germain. But holding on to a 2-1 in 90 minutes or something, that was a great achievement by Aston Villa, scoring a goal early on, going 1-1 into halftime. But that's the unfortunate thing with the Champions League, is the moments. The moments. It's all about the moments. It's not really about... Even Paris Saint Germain, we consistently dominated Aston Villa for this game for 90 minutes. But that still wasn't the reason we beat you. It was because of the moments. And that's the UCL.
yeah, frustrating, but it is what it is. Sometimes in football, there are teams that are better than you. There are players that are better than you. And it's just one of those that you've just got to hold your hands up and say that's the best that we could have done. But we still had, and this is why at 1-0, the goal swing at 1-0 is important. Well, it would have been important because we still had half chances. Rodgers has had a couple more half chances. We've had the power little glancer that he could have got something on it. And, so we've had a couple of moments there where, one of them just goes in and it's, something mad can happen. So, we have sort of created half chances. I think on the balance of what we could have done, I'd have just liked to have just tried to see us just with the ball a little bit more. We were going long again, which, they're pressing with a front five. So, it's very, very difficult, but there's 5 players there that have been committed. So can we find the Villa player a little bit more? I'd like to think that we could possibly do that. I think
that's the thing. Like, Villa could have taken more risks. I think it's just Unai Emery. He was not willing to take risks against PSG. He was not willing to risk losing the ball when the opposition was pressing. Basically, a bit of a coward mentality. I understand you have to be conservative and defensive against Paris Saint Germain, especially at the Parc des Princes in the Champions League. But they could have taken more risks. They could have taken more risks because I felt like the Villa game at home was the game to sit back with your fans in your stadium, more comfortable, knowing that this is the final game. And this game, trying to get a favorable result.
Sometimes we could maybe go a little bit longer into like an area of the pitch rather than to an actual player, and that would enable us to sort of drag a team or drag players across the pitch a little bit more, and just get it to stick a little bit more. But the team has worked very, very hard, this evening to try and sustain it for as long as we can. And football's mad, like a Villa early goal at Villa Park, and there's 1 goal swing, so it's not over. But we're gonna have to find a way to. I feel like we just need to find a way of getting the ball to stick and find some areas of the pitch that we can pose more problems. I think Rodgers was isolated. Rashford had opportunities where he got on the ball, so that's probably an opportunity where you're feeling like we were able to get the ball, stand up, and get some runners across. I feel like Onana. I feel like when he came on, he added a little bit more presence. He's got that little bit more profile, which I think was good. I'd have liked to have seen us try and work some set pieces a little bit more, just to try and get first contact on some things. But all in all, I mean, this is probably going to be short, sharp, and sweet. Really, there's not really too much to dwell on. Really, I
remember something he mentioned in the pregame when it came to about duels. I saw the duels. I think Villa won like 52, 55, PSG 47, something like that. So pretty much 50-50. That's something that Villa could have, improved on to get a favorable performance and a potential result, potentially winning more duels. I think a lot of people go into the game against PSG thinking this is a weak team. This is a Premier League fan thingy, where PSG is just not a physical team. We're one of the most physical teams in the world, and they're too height-centrated. They believe João Neves is 5'7". That means he's weak. I've seen him win headers against 6'3" people. So, yeah, no, that's something that Villa could have improved on, but yeah.
We will stat pack it and we'll have a look at some of the real nitty-gritty on a debrief tomorrow. But yeah, I think we've just got to be humble and immensely proud of the team that we're actually competing at this stage of the Champions League. It's no one thought it was going to be easy. We all hoped we would be able to compete a bit more, I think. But yeah, I mean, they're exceptional. They are the best team I've seen play against Villa all season by a country mile. They're just that rotate, that movement, that quality of just, they're not even playing with a striker. It's like a false 9 dropping in. Well, it's a 10, isn't it? In Dembele, but so much pace, so much guile, silky movement, positionally zipping in and out. I think one bad thing that's come out of tonight is Ali McCoist and Rio Ferdinand. Like, just, I was just thinking, like, if this was Liverpool, if this was Man United, you wouldn't be gushing over them like this. It was borderline, like, I don't know, this three-way co-commentary doesn't work for me. Like, you've got a fanboy who's just getting excited about some skill. Show a bit of class, really. So them lot just really annoyed me listening to that all night as well. But
I mean, I'm with them. I've not those as an example, but I've had especially a lot of Premier League commentators. Like, I was listening to CBS, the stuff that they were saying. But no, that has become a problem. I feel in football commentary, it's too much biasy. And yeah, just weirdness.
Yeah, from Villa, I think it was kind of what I expected defensively. 6-5 at the back at times. And yeah, I think there's not really much more to say, really. So, yeah, I'll do a debrief tomorrow where I can go into it in a bit more detail, but I just thought I'd give my reaction straight away at full time. So, cheers, everyone.
All right, this guy had really great previous heading into the game, and his match reaction, great once again. Let's move on to the next one. All right, we got our boys at ESPN FC. Let's see what they have to say.
Shall we? Frank Leboeuf, who's hot-footed here from the stadium to join us to reflect on this. Frank, another very impressive night in Europe for PSG.
Indeed, Dan, that was very impressive, but it's also impressive because Aston Villa didn't play, and as we normally say, it takes 2 to tango, so it was hard to find solutions for Paris Saint Germain because definitely Aston Villa parked the bus, especially in the second half. There were no spaces for the Paris Saint Germain players, but they were very patient. They calculated all action that they wanted to do, and because of the talent of some players, they made the difference, but nothing to complain about. I mean, the third goal was just a relief for everybody because it allows them to go to Villa and to be a little bit more confident about what they can achieve. But when I see Desiree Doué, when I see Ousmane Dembélé, but also Vitinha, Neves, the future is really bright for Paris Saint Germain. They have so much qualities. I'm a little bit conservative about the defense with Berardo and Pacho. I wasn't very sure. It's nice that Marquinhos can come back very soon, but otherwise, nothing to complain about. Everybody was spot on.
You can't expect Aston Villa, Frank, to go to Paris, to this PSG side,
and go toe-to-toe with them. They're not.
But that's the thing, I think, for both Villa and Aston Villa, I think people have to understand. Nobody's saying go to toe-to-toe. Obviously, for majority of the game, I am expecting Aston Villa to sit more conservative. But at least try to have moments. At least try for a 5-minute period to build some momentum, to have the ball to attack. I think where Aston Villa, for me, made it even worse for themselves was the 2-1. When it became 2-1, they were like, either we now, start playing a bit more, start potentially getting a goal, getting us back into this game, getting us back into this side. They comfortably sat back with that 2-1, accepting the 2-1 and taking that to Villa Park. Obviously, it was close. It was close that could have finished like that. Obviously, Paris Saint Germain got the goal at the end. But when we were 2-1 up, I didn't like that result in the game. Not for the second leg. I didn't like that in the game because I had a weird, disgusting feeling like the worst could have happened and Villa could have gotten a goal. And there were some, moments. I think Paris Saint Germain were a bit, not weak mentally, but weakened mentally after that 2-1. There was like a 20-minute period. Not that much happened. I think that's when Villa could have tried to have some moments. So I don't expect Villa to go I don't expect any team to go toe-to-toe with us. Probably even FC Barcelona is going to sit back conservative against us or something. But all I'm expecting from Aston Villa and Liverpool in the previous game and other future teams is try to have moments at least. Obviously, you will give us space in behind, but you need to show that there's a reason that you're playing in a Champions League quarterfinal. But you have no confidence in yourself? I don't understand this.
Not at that level, and certainly not when PSG are in the kind of form that they are. We saw what they did to Liverpool. There's only one way Villa could have approached that game, and that's exactly what they did, and they almost got out with a 2-1, which would have been a great result for them.
About 2 years ago, over 4,000 people decided to invest in Mouse.
And another thing about, he said 2-1 would have been a great result. I think it's workable. But again, Aston Villa were never going to go through this tie. Aston Villa were never going to go through this tie. Even if it was just a one-legged tie at Villa Park, PSG would still go through. I don't understand why people keep acting like Villa had a chance in this game. Because you're overrating Villa and you're underrating Paris Saint Germain. Like when this draw happened, when Villa went through versus Bruges and we went through versus Liverpool, I knew he was going to go through. Everybody knew. But obviously people want to, prop the underdog and have their agenda against PSG. Like, they never had a chance. Even with the 2-1, we still would have gone to Villa Park and smacked them.
That's true. You're right. You're absolutely right. Maybe they didn't have any choice, and they had only one chance to score, and they did. But at some point, sometimes I say, well, they would have played a little further. They would have played a little bit further up on the field. Maybe they would have a chance to counterattack a little bit more. But it was clear for me that, as you said, even losing 1-0 or 2-1 was perfect for them. But for me, they're going to be more danger at home because they're going to open up. And with players like Doué, Ousmane Dembélé as well, and Barcola, that's going to be terrible for them because they're going to open spaces and they're going to be punished for me.
It's always been the case with this game. And Unai Emery's been brilliant, as is Luis Enrique. But there are levels in this game that teams can reach. And Villa's is here, and PSG's is up here.
It's the same conversation with Dortmund and Barcelona in the person.
There are just levels. And sometimes we see results when the levels sort of balance themselves out by a bad performance or some special goals. These things can happen. But when teams reach I wouldn't say PSG were at the level they were against Liverpool, but they were still very, very good. Still very good. I mean, Liverpool were a tougher nut to crack, and they made that look easy for the most part, even though they lost in Paris. I mean, it was an anomaly, that game. And the problem is, if PSG don't drop those levels for the second leg, it's very difficult to see how A, Villa get back in it, and B, how they keep a clean sheet. When you see this attacking talent they have, when you see how tidy they are in the middle of the park, yeah, maybe defensively they'll give you a couple of chances, but when you see how they control games in the middle of the park with the Neveses and the Vitinho.
Again, that's another narrative. Like, yes, we play a very high line, but we're very good defensively in terms of defending big chances and not receiving big chances against us. Like, I know we're so great attackingly, and usually teams that are great attackingly aren't the best defensively, but we're still one of the best defensive sides in the world. Not the best, not top 3, but still a very great defensive side.
And then you've got Zaire Emery coming on, you've got Doué, Dembele, and Kvaratskhelia, just absolutely brilliant. It's only pointing one thing, that it's going to be another tough night at Villa Park. Yeah, they've got a small chance, but this PSG side they're potentially good enough to. I mean, the start of the Champions League in this 36-team group, they were bang average, but they have timed their form absolutely perfect.
I like that we did 36-team group. Just kind of.
I don't like how they talk about PSG as in form. I think the first period of the season was bad form, and now we're just performing as we should. Maybe slightly overperforming because it's the bigger stage and we care more about it. But that was the bad form. This is not great form. This is just how we should be performing. That was way below our level. It's not.
I look at all the did like this is a signal. What's interesting, the best thing for PSG was Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe leaving.
Well, yes. And it would seem counterproductive, but yes, absolutely that's the case. And Frank just mentioned there that the future is bright for PSG. The future is now for PSG. Never mind the future. Their present is bright. This is a team that has all the makings of a group that can win this competition because, one, first and foremost, they are a team. The collective of PSG is very strong. And what makes a team a great team? The fact that the collective is very strong, but the individual talent is also very strong. So when you need somebody to give you a play, to give you something magical, to give you something different, you got a guy like Kvaratskhelia who can take the 1v1 situation in the manner in which he did and gives you the lead in a game. That wasn't a team goal per se. It's a guy who gets himself in a 1v1 and is good enough to make the defender look silly and finish from a tight angle. So you have the collective work that Craig was just talking about and all the players that get involved in the midfield and all the talent that they have in the attacking half. And then you have the individual players. So if Kvaratskhelia or Dembele or whoever it may be or Doué that can score in the manner in which he did today. That's what elevates PSG. First and foremost, the collective is so very strong, so disciplined in what they do, and very good in understanding what each of the players' role is on the field, and that was on full display today. The fact that you have Nuno Mendes scoring the third goal in the manner in which he did, you would think, well, what's the left back doing there so late in the match? Well, Dembele had put himself in a playmaking position. Somebody had to occupy the space going forward, and Nuno Mendes was the closest one, so it's not even a question of I'm dropping back. No, I'm going to go and run in between the lines, and maybe I get a ball, and he did and was able to finish it. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because the team knows exactly who they are and who they want to be on the field. PSG.
I 100% agree with that. Like, think about it. This team has been playing with each other not for that long. Obviously, Nuno Mendes, Achraf Hakimi, Donnarumma came early. Vitinha's been early. The majority of this team is a new team under a new manager, but this transition has gone on so quickly. That's why it was very important for me in the beginning of the season to put away all the trust the process gimmicks, okay? That's why I can never, take a club like Arsenal seriously, even though obviously they were at a much worse spot when Arteta took over compared to when Lucho took over. And obviously Lucho's been able to spend way more money than Arteta and having more power. But like, this has gone so quickly and so naturally and so beautiful. The transition from 2 round of 16 exits to potentially now 2 straight Champions League semifinals. And hopefully we can win it this year. Like, the transition, and as he mentioned, the collective. Obviously, the big thing is Luis Enrique. I'm not even talking from a tactical standpoint, just as a leader, as a father figure for the team, because we have an average age of like 25 in this team. And then the team perfectly assembled. Like, everyone is selfless, everyone is humble, everyone has the same objective. Nobody has, I don't know, it's just so professional. It's such a professional unit. That was obviously something that Luis Enrique was very clear with when he became the Paris Saint Germain manager. Like, he wanted professionals, and there's no drama. Back in the day, we used to have different groups, like a Spanish-speaking group, a Portuguese-speaking group, a French-speaking group, and so on. Now, no. Everyone is just together. It's one unit, and that is what makes us so strong.
PSG are scary good.
You mentioned Neymar, the circus. It was the circus.
Yes, it was.
Neymar, Mbappe, Messi. It was.
Again, I don't even understand why they keep up. Like, in every single video I watch about PSG, they always bring up that period. It's completely irrelevant. What's more relevant is maybe PSG last season, because PSG last season was basically the same team, apart from Neves, Doué, and Pacho, have all been very impactful. And obviously second season for Lucho. But the difference in performances and mentality from this team to last season, that is relevant. I don't know why they keep on bringing this. Like, we all know when Messi joined the club, we had, good moments here and there. But for majority of the time, it was not looking good. The squad was unbalanced. There were different groups, and hierarchy at the club. Galtier treating Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe much better than the other players and so on. But I don't know why they keep on bringing it up. Like, it's not that relevant anymore. Like, you could have said that last season. Last season, you could have said, yeah, they've moved on from Neymar, Messi, Verratti, Ramos, and look at them last season, reaching the Champions League semi-final. And then this season, it's majority about that fucking rat Mbappe, man. But no, they want to keep bringing Neymar, Messi in so that Mbappe doesn't get too much hate and critique. Like, Mbappe is the main person. You should say, last season, we saw this PSG team. I mean, they were good. They reached the Champions League semi-final. But what's the difference between PSG last season and this season? Obviously, 3 better players in the team. Safanov as well, giving good competition to Donnarumma. second season under Lucho, second season for the players. But it's mainly that fucking rat that has gone away. Look at the attack. Look at how Paris Saint Germain are playing football. We're not playing for one dictator. That is the main thing. That is actually relevant. I don't know why they don't bring that up. They always keep bringing up Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe.
Was the circus. Every week we'll be talking about different things. But I dare say you could lob, when the players left, you can also lob Pochettino in there as well. Even though he had stuff to deal with, I don't think they are playing in this manner, this good, with him in charge. I think Luis Enrique...
I definitely agree with that. But one thing I want to defend Galtier and previous PSG managers, even Thomas Tuchel, none of those managers had the power Luis Enrique got. I think Nasser Khalifi, after Galtier left, after Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe were starting to get sold, Verratti and so on, I think Nasser Khalifi was like, all right, this time I'm going to give majority of the power to the manager. Because previously it was power to Ibra and Thiago Silva, it was power to Neymar and Mbappe, and then Messi when he came. And this time he was like, let me give it all to the manager. So I think Pochettino would have done a different job, Thomas Tuchel would have done a different job, Galtier would have done a different job if any of them got the trust and power from Nasser Khalifi. Obviously, Nasser Khalifi giving this trust and power to Luis Enrique was because of Luis Enrique's CV and resume, winning the treble for FC Barcelona, reaching the Euro semi-final and so on. So it was more deserved than the previous managers. But yeah, that's another
thing. He's done such a good job. He's been very strong since he's gone in there in terms of what he wants. I don't want this. I don't want this shenanigans. I don't want this. I want this player. That. Yeah. This is what I want to do. I don't think they're in this position. Even though those big superstars go, I don't think they're in this position with Pochettino. Not that he's a bad manager. At the moment, maybe some Americans would disagree. But I think the job Luis Enrique has done thus far is right up there.
And the thing is, Ian, they're doing it like Barcelona in an entertaining way. As a fan, that's what you want to see.
I think they're fantastic to watch. That home leg against Liverpool, which they somehow lost. I still don't know how they lost that game on that night because they were absolutely brilliant. Yeah, they're wonderful to watch. They're very, very intense as well. The midfield players, like Vitinha and Neves, the work that they get through, even right up to the last minute of the game, they want the ball, they want to dictate the game, and they're going to take a lot of stopping. And the guys are right about the job Luis Enrique has done. I mean, I covered that game, the remontada game, and that kind of summed up Paris Saint Germain, in the Champions League. They find a way to lose, even when they had a 4-0 lead from the first leg. They go to Barcelona and lose 6-1, and Unai Emery was the guy in charge of Paris Saint Germain then. You just thought, well, there's a psychological block going on here about this team in the Champions League. I think that's gone now. They're a real team. They're a band of brothers as well. Luis Enrique has done that, and they're mighty dangerous.
Yeah, and he talked, about the remontada. And if we talk about PSG's mentality in the Champions League, I feel like ever since QSI came in, our first Champions League season in 12-13, the mentality started to get up. It was a new competition, a new group of players. We're obviously switching managers here and there, but the mentality was just getting better and better and better. Then in 16-17, obviously our mentality wasn't at the best, but I don't know, it was weird. It was so weird, that remontada game. But yeah, the mentality was not good in that game. Then when we bought Neymar and Mbappe, it was insane pressure on the Champions League. Because we just bought Neymar Jr. and Kylian Mbappe for above 400 million. That was to win the Champions League. Everyone said Neymar's move to PSG is for PSG to win the Champions League. That's what Nasser Khalifi said. That's what Neymar Jr. said. So it was constant pressure at Paris Saint Germain. Win the Champions League, win the Champions League, win the Champions League. It was like that for 17-18, 18-19, 19-20. Then obviously we reached the Champions League final. And then we're making great step. Because 19-20, we showed elite mentality. Beating Madrid 3-0 in the group stage. Beating Borussia Dortmund with a small comeback. Coming back against Atalanta. Beating Leipzig with ease. And then in the final, we just couldn't take it. But the mentality was great there. Then even in the season after, once again, great mentality. Going away to FC Bayern, getting that 3-2 victory, smacking Barca. We were really great versus City in that first half. Then for the rest of the 3 quarters, it wasn't that good. But Paris Saint Germain's mentality peaked in 1920, 2021. Then Messi signed. Then the mentality started going down. The priorities started going down. Bam, bam, bam. And then Lucho came in, sold a bunch of players, got new players in, and then the mentality is back up. I don't like how a lot of these people, when they talk about PSG's mentality, they just remove that period, which is extremely crucial for this team now and that previous team. Like Neymar and Mbappe, they had a semi-final and a Champions League final together. I don't like how they talk about it as unsuccessful, but already praising this team for not even winning the Champions League. I'm not here to discredit this team. Absolutely no. I just don't like how they always talk badly about previous PSG, especially when we had a great period before. I do agree. I don't want to defend 21, 22, and 22, 23. It was in terms of Champions League, it was battling, it was non-careless. Like when we conceded against Bayern away and it became 2-0, I gave up. I knew it was over because I knew the players would give up as well. And that's what we saw in that game. But if that happened to PSG now, if we were 1-0 down, went 2-0 down away at Bayern, I would still have a lot of belief and faith in this team because this team is just different. This team is just different. As I would say 1920 and potentially 2021 was. Even though 2021 was a very turbulent season without Thiago Silva, Tuchel sacked mid-season and so on. But yeah.
Talk to me about...
We're back where we were before. I compare Luis Enrique's PSG very much to Tuchel's PSG. Obviously, very different, but a lot of similarities too. And hopefully this team can actually win it, man.
2-8, Frank. It's obviously been a breakout season for him. Has this surprised PSG or did they see it coming?
Well, he was already showing some interesting stuff when he was speaking for Rennes, but for the past, like, what we say, 4 or 5 months, that's a different players. We can feel, like you were talking, I was listening when you talked about Lamine Yamal. That's the same feeling that I have. The guy has maturity, no fears whatsoever, feels good on the pitch, wants to be there and wants to enjoy it. And he tries like crazy stuff, and because he's so confident about his capability of doing stuff, he does them very well. And yeah, sky's the limit for that guy too. And if he keeps his head on his shoulder, he's going to go far. He has the talent of Lamine Yamal. Of course, he didn't have a chance to go that far yet because he was just born, I would say, like 4 or 5 months ago. But that's going to be very interesting to follow him.
I mean, for me, the huge thing with Desiree Doué, it's not that he's starting to perform well after, a poor start to the season. It's more about how quickly he's gone from here. Like, he's here. He's on a pitch with Khvicha Kvaratskhelia and Ousmane Dembélé. And we can see him. We talk about Desiree Doué. Everyone talks about Desiree Doué. Like, he's made such insane growth in such a little amount of time. Like, even after his great form coming into this game, I still didn't believe he had in him scoring a goal. He could have obviously gotten a Fugazi goal, a tap-in or something, but I'm talking like scoring a goal. I didn't think. I believed in Dembele. I believed Kvara would eventually get it because Kvara has that in him. But Desiree Doué, man, he got us back into the game yesterday with an absolute stunner of a goal and performed really well for the entire 90 minutes. Like, he's an unbelievable player. Unbelievable player.
And if he keeps like that for France, for, of course, Paris Saint Germain, it's going to be a fantastic plus.
Frank, you mentioned it. Obviously, when we saw the big table in the group stage,
you're not selling it. Yeah.
PSG was struggling. They had to get results or it looked like they were going to get out. What's changed?
Well, I guess suddenly it clicked to the players that they were really a team and they had to trust themselves and all of the team about what they were capable of doing. And that's what Luis Enrique was able to achieve. That's his main achievement, I would say, in a way that he made the player trusting that they were capable of reaching the top of the top. And it took like the same time, like I was talking about Doué or also Ousmane Dembélé, like 4 or 5 months ago, those players suddenly all together reacted and started to be different players. You have to add Neves, Vitinha, of course, Barcola, but also some other players, Villa as well. That's amazing. All suddenly, all together, they decided to work, and it matched, and they are doing stuff like we never expected them to do. And that's
again, a lot of these people, I don't want to even bring up because for me that's in the past now. I have, you could say, forgiven Luis Enrique for that period in the beginning, but he was a major reason. He was the main reason, not the only reason, but he was the main reason holding us back into the season. Obviously, the rise of Desiree Doué and the signing of Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, and obviously the players, obviously as well, because they had the meeting. Luis Enrique compensated, listened, and respected his players, and the players started fighting and being more motivated for the team. But yeah, no, I love the comeback we did here, and shout out to the ESPN panel, full of praise of Paris Saint Germain. Let's go to the next one. All right, we got Mr. Faisal. We know about the comments he had before the game. His team obviously lost 3-0 as well, so we're gonna just skip to the PSG part.
The fourth thing I want to talk about is, of course, PSG and Aston Villa. And
remember, this guy said crazy stuff. He said that Aston Villa were gonna go through as well. So I'm really interested in what he's gonna say now.
I'll talk about, of course, listen. PSG, for me, alongside Barcelona, are two of the best teams in the world, but not only the best team, they're two of the most entertaining teams around the world.
What happened to we were just a patch?
I want to talk about...
See, that's exactly what I said in the previous reaction video. I said, instead of, accepting that he was wrong, he's just going to say, no, I was just trolling. I was just trolling.
One of the biggest things that I learned here, and I've been watching this over the past 3 Champions League games. The 2 games against Liverpool, and now this game against Aston Villa. And that is the front trio. Today, Barcola never played. Last game Barcola played, Doué was on the bench.
Again, I don't even understand this. Like, he's done a full 180, 360 no, 180 since the last video. I don't even understand it. Like, he's now suddenly acting like, no, I always rated PSG. I always knew they were good. Best team alongside Barca. What?
These three, neither of them are strikers. All of them are natural left wingers. But today, what I've witnessed, and not just today, even the 2 games against Liverpool, when it was Barcola playing and not Doué, these three are all equal. These three have got all unselfish traits about them. There wasn't a moment in this whole game that Kivic was playing left wing for 90 minutes. There wasn't a moment in this game where Doué was playing 90 minutes on the right-hand side. There wasn't a moment where Dembouz was playing 90 minutes as a striker. And even if you go back to the game against Liverpool, there wasn't a moment where Barcola was playing on the left, Kivic was playing on the right. All of them share different responsibility and different moments of the game where they all play in different of these 3 positions. Yesterday, I saw Doué playing as a left winger where he scored the goal. I saw him playing on the right. I saw him playing as a striker towards the beginning, towards the end of the first half and beginning of the second half. I saw Dembele play on the right-hand side towards the end, which tried to score his goal. I saw Kivic in the first half rotate constantly, one side there, one side there. I saw Barcola against Liverpool playing all 3 different positions. Why do they do it so naturally, so effortlessly? And we have 3 of the best wingers on paper. We do on paper.
That's a good point that he mentioned there, because I've seen a lot of Madrid fans discuss this actually compared to Paris Saint Germain's attack. Obviously, the first thing is a huge thing is obviously the manager. These players listen and respect Luis Enrique as their boss. I don't think Vinny, Mbappe, Bellingham respect. I think they respect Ancelotti because he's a legend of football and so on, but I don't think as a father figure or anything. Second of all, these are selfless players. These are players that put the team above themselves. Mbappe has never put the team above himself. This was a huge problem for me with Mbappe at PSG. It was always him before the team, which can never work. You can never be a leader of the team. You can never be that guy. In 21-22, when he was at his best, well, he actually put the team first. That was the best version of Mbappe. But ever since he made that extension, ever since he proved to the world that all he cares about is money and fame and girls and all of that, it's become an ego. Bellingham is weird. Like, he's a weird player. Like, because actually he's the most passionate out of the 3 players, him, and Mbappe and Vinny. He's not a good player. I think that's the best way to describe Bellingham. But he's also a gigantic ego. And then you have Vinicius Jr. I think he hasn't been an ego, but ever since being snubbed off the Ballon d'Or, ever since Kylian Mbappe came into this team, and also ego after winning the 2 Champions Leagues, he's also become someone that cares more about himself than the team. Dembele cares way more about the team. He can play left wing if Lucho tells him. He can play center forward if Lucho tells him. He can play right wing. Mbappe, I only want to play left wing in my preferred position. Vinny, I only want to prefer left wing position. Bellingham is the only one that's a bit compensatable and can play some positions here and there. That's the main difference. Like, we have 3 humans, you have 3 fucking aliens that all they care about is Instagram and how many followers they have. Madrid is not a serious institution. No, those players that you have in attack are not serious.
Paper, Real Madrid have got 3 of the best wingers in the world, the best 3 left wingers in the world, and that's Vinny, Mbappe, Rodrigo. Why is it that all 3 of them cannot function?
Okay, I don't think Rodrigo is that good. You can put him on the level.
The same way all these players can. You want me to tell you the answer? This is the difference between having a manager.
Again, I do agree that Luis Enrique compared to Ancelotti is a huge difference. But honestly, even if you give Luis Enrique, Vinny, we had Mbappe last season. We had the fucking same problem. We had Mbappe on the Lucho. We had the same problem. Mbappe didn't want to compensate for the team. And he stunk it up. Like, again, this is not me taking anything away from what Lucho has done and how important his role is, but I don't understand. Like, Madrid fans always do this. They always want to scapegoat Ancelotti for everything. When will you realize that you have Kylian Mbappe? We've had that guy for 7 years. We know how annoying he is. You have Vinicius Jr., who's been acting like a man-child after being snubbed of that Ballon d'Or, and Mbappe taking his main role in the team. And then Bellingham and Rodrigo just not good enough. We had Mbappe at PSG last season, man.
And having someone that is an imposter. What Enrique has managed to do, and again, this is credit to Vitinha, who broke the record in terms of the most passes completed, the most final passes completed. He broke the record of any Champions League game since 2003, 2004. Neves was very good.
Yeah, Vitinha will, eclipse whatever Cruz is.
Mendes, yes, the first goal was a bit questionable, but the assist that he had and the goal that he scored was well taken. Great. Managed to stay composed under pressure when the tackle was made. Yeah. Elite. Hakimi is having one of the best seasons, bro. Like, this season, in terms of the best right backs in the world, you've got Hakimi, you've got Koundé, you've got Trent. Hakimi's been amongst those 3. I think Morata did well.
He's been better than both by a distance. Shout out to Koundé as well. I think he's been clearly the second best. Like, Hakimi has been a distance above all if you watch them
in
consistently.
the second half, where Watkins came on, and there's more pressure, and did very well, despite the fact Marquinhos is of course on the bench. But I think what Paris Saint Germain have done here, and it starts with these three. It starts with how unselfish all three of them are, and it makes it easy because when all three of them are moving, it helps these three midfielders massively. Like, you guys don't understand yet. When these three function well as a team, the job of these three makes it easier. That's why this season for Real Madrid, it hasn't been easy for the likes of Camavinga, Fede, Jude Bellingham, because
Again, completely wrong. Like, how can you not understand football? No, a reason our front three is so good is because they are constantly supplied. That's another issue at Madrid. You have an ass midfield in terms of ball progression. You just talked about Vitinha breaking all ball progression records. And we have Ashraf Hakimi and Nuno Mendes. The main issue at Madrid for the attackers, they're not supplied. That's the main difference you could say between Barca and Madrid. Both have a very great front three. But the main difference is the rest of the team. Barca have Alejandro Balde, extreme progressive left back. They have Pedri in the midfield. They're playing De Jong now, one of the best progressive passes in the world. No, it's not the attackers making the midfielders' job easy. It's the midfielders making the attackers' job easier. This was some of a problem we had when we had our trident. It's obviously we had Marco Verratti, but apart from him, we had Vitinha in his first season. He wasn't that good, and Galtier as a manager just he couldn't get that. He was more of a counter-attacking manager. He doesn't understand position, ball progression, football. A huge difference between Madrid and PSG is our midfield is like so much superior to Madrid's midfield, mainly in ball progression. Mainly in football technicality. I mean, when I'm describing a midfielder, I'm saying passing, I'm saying ball progression. I'm not saying fucking scoring goals. You can't have these false midfielders and expecting them to progress the ball to your attack constantly. When you guys played Arsenal didn't even press you that strongly. You couldn't do anything with the ball because your midfield stinks. Bellingham can't drop to pockets, bring up the ball from the defenders and give it to the attackers. Like, the only glow Madrid I've seen having in that midfield is when Ceballos was playing. Unfortunately, he's obviously injured for you guys. But he's what? A technical midfielder. Camavinga is not that. Jude Bellingham is not that. Valverde is not that. What the fuck?
We've got three players that are standing still, and the midfield has to do extra to try to create. Whereas if everyone's moving and everyone's is moving selflessly for each other, it makes it easy, bro. It makes it so easy because they don't understand yet. One movement of Barcola or Due going to that hands, it will drag one or two people with him, which makes it easy for the midfield to penetrate through the middle. But when everyone's just standing still, the defenders don't have to do anything. If every winger just standing still and the strikers dropping deep, the defenders have it easy because if the midfield comes towards them, they're already in position.
No, that is true. Our constant, because we're always holding the width, making the pitch larger. And we're always, changing position. Even the midfielders like Neves, Vitinha, and Fabian keep rotating. It's so difficult marking PSG. It's impossible, I would say.
They're already in shape. Fam, it's jarring, bro. Watching this and watching my team is jarring. But last but not least, I think this Champions League knockout so far, I think has been more entertaining in the last 2 years. If I ask you right now, go back to 2 years ago and tell me any sort of memorable game. You might say Real Madrid against Liverpool, the round of 16. You might say, what else? I don't even think City Bayern was that entertaining. But if you go to this game, City Bayern PSG was that entertaining. But if you go to this campaign so far, from the round of 16 till now, every game has been some sort of entertainment. Whether that's Paris Saint Germain Liverpool, whether that was Real Madrid against Atleti, whether that is PSG against Aston Villa, Real Madrid against Arsenal, Inter versus Bayern, that's been entertainment. Milan against Feyenoord. Bro, you've been entertained throughout this whole Champions League campaign. And I think everyone has to have their own stigma about it heading into this campaign, whether it's falling off, whether this and that. But I think the Champions League this year has delivered. In my personal opinion,
I agree with that too. I think the format definitely had a positive impact. I mean, the format basically made it's easier for the stronger teams to be there in the knockout stages and not that many fugazi teams. I mean, in this entire quarterfinals, it's only teams from the top 5 leagues. And that's something that has, started happening more in the Champions League. Even more spots being allocated to top 5 league teams. They're just making the Champions League more competitive, more quality in the competition, tougher. But it's also, I would say, the past 2 years, a lot of teams were now, performing at their standard. You had City, who were really good. You had Madrid, they weren't even good, but, they won UCLs. But, I mean, Bayern will be on the up under company. I think next season they will be even better. Barca under Flick have been looking very good. PSG under Luis Enrique. Arsenal in the mix now. Obviously, Inter still consistent. It's just pretty much City that have dropped off. Madrid, I mean, this is how bad Madrid were last year. It just finally a team actually killed them. But yeah, I mean, cheeky. So he's basically just acting like his preview didn't happen. Let's go to the next one. So we have Talk Sports, and the title of this video is Fantastic Result.
Danny, another Villa fan. Danny, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Danny.
Hello, guys. You all right?
All right,
Good,
Danny.
yeah.
Where did you watch the game?
Well, I was at home. I've got a season to get Aston Villa first since 1997, so I've been there. I've been going for a long time. Loads of ups and downs, but at the moment, tonight was a historic occasion for us. Obviously, it was a difficult result, but everyone was talking about the goal at the very end. For me, if it stayed 2-1, PSG would have thought, right, we're going to smash them next week. Well, we absolutely dominated them today. The 3-1, there's a mentality change. They might feel like, they're celebrating already. Maybe the 3-1 might make them take the foot off the gas. It might play into our hands. There might be a mentality change. What do you guys think?
I like your thinking. That is as positive thinking as you can possibly get. I'd rather lose 3-1 than 2-1.
Well,
I know what you're saying, though.
You know what I mean? But if it's 2-1, they might feel, really, we could have lost 7-0 tonight. It wasn't. Well, we played okay. We did our job. And you were talking earlier about Marcus. Rashford, I totally agree with Cundy that that was the role he was given to play today. It was kind of like a thankless task up front. Just keep running around and try to make something happen. Don't waste your energy. That's what Rashford played the way that he did. But I feel next week, I think Ollie Watkins will start next week. I feel.
So, Danny, here's what I think you're trying to say. That it's a good thing you conceded that goal at the end. Therefore, PSG might go into it feeling the tie is over. Therefore, giving you a bit more of a chance.
Exactly that. I remember years ago, actually,
big call that one in the quarterfinals.
No, honestly, I know I'm probably going to have a lot of people laugh.
No, I hear. I mean,
there was definitely a mentality change, 100%. You see them at the end, they were celebrating, popping champagne. Remind me of AC Milan going 3-0 up against Liverpool in Istanbul. There was this feeling that, well, let's change mentality now. Maybe 2-0, AC Milan wouldn't put the foot off the gas as much as they did. But I'm totally positive, I'm a massive Aston Villa fan. I didn't go today, but I feel it will come and it isn't over, in my opinion.
Well, it's like Arsenal, Jace. Arsenal are 3-0 up.
So you think Real Madrid, thank God they scored the third goal, now we can go at them, really playing only one way?
Well, what he's trying to say is, like the Arsenal game, if Arsenal had won 2-0, then Arsenal would have still thought, 2-0's not a big lead, really. They can easy. But at 3-0, Arsenal might think we're through.
Well, that rhetoric will not continue. There's no way.
Well, that's what he's trying to say. But.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I haven't thought of this. Obviously, it's majority just copium and hopium and bopium, just, hoping that Villa can still go through and this is how they will go through. I felt, for example, last season, maybe something like this happened. I think after we beat Barca, we potentially over-celebrated too much. And that removed mentality and hunger for us versus Dortmund. And I also think we went a bit arrogantly into the Dortmund tie, the players. The fans can be arrogant, that's not important. But the players went in a bit too arrogant, thinking they maybe are already in the Champions League final. So we've seen this from this PSG team before last season. Could it potentially happen here? I don't think so. Because, that just Luis Enrique and how this team is. I think we're going to go now to Villa Park wanting another big victory. We're not going to go there to advance. We're going to go there to win. That's been clear from everything I've read from the players. All the players have said, obviously it can just be a humble gimmick, but all the players have said it's still a game we have to win. We're not through yet. So I don't really think this group of players are that arrogant group of players to think like that and feel like that. I don't think this is the group to do that.
Yeah, okay.
That's as positive as they get.
Well, fair enough. We'll find out, won't we? Next Tuesday evening at Villa Park. It's a 3-1 deficit. PSG, the best side I've seen. They are more of a team now as a unit than they certainly were when I see with Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi.
What's the secret of football, Jeff?
That team, that combination of those three up top was nothing but pure talent, obviously, but no one was prepared to put no.
But what's the secret of football?
There's no eye in team.
The secret of football is to sign good players and get them to work hard. That's the most important bit. That's getting a load of good players to work hard and all row in the right direction.
Well, do you know what?
That team's smothery.
Yeah, they are at the moment. I've put a call out for Gooners, anyone listening to this, still celebrating, no doubt, but it looks like you're going to be playing PSG in the semi-finals. I think this PSG side are the best side in the tournament right now. Having said that, Barcelona tonight is wow. Dortmund are struggling. What
about Milan?
Don't write them off, mate. To go to Munich and win 2-1. That's a hell of a... It's a hell of a result, that, mate. Hell of a result, that. Let's go speak to a Gooner. Market Wayne has dialed 03717223344. Market Wayne.
Hello, boys. How are you? You all right?
You all right?
Market Wayne. Why do you call you that? Market Wayne.
It's Cundy's nickname for me. I travel around with a food market, so I work nights looking after it overnight. So it gets me calling sports bar all the time.
You're a security, aren't you?
Security guard,
Security on the market.
Yeah, so they trade during the day and I look after it overnight.
Yeah, eat sort of food.
Okay, I don't think we'll get anything more from this video. Moving on to the next one. We quickly have Mr. HH here. the last video I watched of him was the reaction to us losing to Liverpool. Obviously, a lot of negative stuff he said about PSG. I didn't see his reaction to us beating Liverpool, but let's see this one.
I screamed. Like, I'll put this up on my Twitter stream. I screamed like, bro, that's Desiree Doué. Okay, I'll build up. Desiree Doué. Now, Villa, they got the goal. I saw that was Prince William Harry, one of those two, cheering, shout out, boom, boom. And I was like, look, don't sleep on Emery. Don't sleep on Emery. I was like, people are going to destroy them 4-0, 3-0. I said, respect Emery. He is a great tactician. And these knockout games is Emery's house. This is where Emery lives in these knockout games, being a tactician.
Again, I already explained that in previous videos. Like, Emery is a Europa League genius. You could maybe say European genius. But in the Champions League, what matters is that you are a Champions League genius, not an Europa League genius.
So 1-0, boom. And for PSG, I said, look, PSG, when you're going up against Haram and every man, woman, and child behind the ball, this pretty play, twinkle, twinkle, little star, ain't going to do it. You're going to break these guys down. Someone needs to do something at an individual level. Is it going to be Dembele? Is it going to be Vitinha? Who's going to be? Step up, let's do the Desiree Doué. Wow, wowzers. Bro, that goal was stupid. Bro, that goal went up to heaven, said, yo, heaven, what up, baby? Came down to earth and said, well, that is what Desiree Doué did. Outstanding goal. I want to know who Kivic's new child is. Because Kivic is a new father. Yeah, he's a new father. I need to know, is he the father of Disasi or Konsa? So one of you got to step up. So I want someone in the comments below, who is Kivic's new child that he's adopted? Because that was a nasty adoption. Like, bro, he rolled over the ball and the guy tried to do like sign language. Like, was trying to do sign, like mimes. He basically became like a mime after Kivic adopted. So the adoption is one stage. Left foot, roof of the net.
Pooh.
As someone said on the Twitch stream, Lord in heaven. Wow. Stupid. 2-1 is a good away result. So at 2-1, I was like, okay, something. 3-1, I'm not sure whether Villa can do this. There's still a glimmer of hope. 2-1, I think that's a good result. 3-1, it gets tricky. It gets real tricky, bro. So at 2-1, I would still maybe edit towards Emery doing something. At 3-1, I think PSG may have this. Because do PSG lose 2-0? Or do they lose like 4-1 or 3-1? At Villa Park. No, I think at Villa Park, I think they can score and get a cheat. So Villa will have to score like 2 or 3 goals without reply. So it's just tricky. It's going to be tricky for Villa. But again, it's the Champions League and anything can happen. But PSG, this guy's looking good. And we're looking as if it could possibly be a PSG Arsenal UCL semi. Like the day.
Shout out to HH. Moving on to the next one. All right, we got Claret and Blue. I obviously reacted to these guys' videos before. They were a bit arrogant coming into the tie. Let's see what their thoughts are after the game. It's only the guy on the left side as well, I don't think. Yeah. Right side.
Hello, welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. Post-match reaction for Aston Villa's defeat away at the Parc des Princes against PSG. An absolute sucker punch, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, whatever adjective you want to describe towards, particularly the third goal. I'd have been okay with a 2-1 defeat, as I think most of us would. I actually said in our preview content that a 2-goal deficit isn't the end of the world. I still don't think it is, and I'm sure we'll come to next week at some point during this episode as well. But initially, when the whistle blew, 7 minutes ago or something, and I am just so flat, so deflated. That's flat, by the way, not fat.
I'm so fat. I could do with being deflated. Me and you normally have a little bit of jaunty chit chat, don't we, for a couple of minutes before we come on, and just kind of stared blankly at each other. Just
like this.
It feels like we've been relegated, or it feels like we've had to have our pet hamster put down or something. It just that goal. I mean, listen, we've played the best team in Europe, haven't we?
They're very good. Yeah.
We've tried to cling on in there, but yeah, I hated most. You texted me first half, didn't you? this is horrible. And it's still 0-0 at the time. I hated it. I was watching it through my fingers like that. I thought we did all right. In the circumstances.
I've just seen something even more horrible. Not us texting, but I do what you do, and you text yourself, don't you, like notes and stuff during games. I don't do that. I do it on Slack. So I did a title suggestion at 2-1. There's the first thing that came on my phone when I opened it then, and it should have been Resilient Villa have it all to play for in second leg. So I was ready to go. I know we kind of do, but the third goal obviously changes it. I mean, the things I was saying in the previous stuff was, if Villa start fast like against Forest, against Celtic, a 2-goal deficit could be back level 15 minutes in theory. Villa start really well and score. The problem is PSG, how good they are, they're probably going to come to Villa Park and score. So Villa need to score 3 or 4 goals to maybe even just to take it to extra time, and then it's the lottery of a penalty shootout and extra time as well. So it's going to be very, very difficult to overturn it because PSG are so good. And there was a lot of chit-chat before the game about, well, in the league phase, they're not particularly good. They've only been good against Liverpool. Like, are we really going to read too much into that? They were very good, weren't they? They were exactly the same as they were against Liverpool, and thoroughly deserved their victory. Could easily have scored more goals than they did. And as Fletch and Rio and Ali McCoy were saying on the commentary, they will come and play at Villa Park exactly the same way. They'll come and do exactly the same things. They'll play their way. They'll come on to us and they'll want to score goals. And if they play like they did tonight, and we can't get ourselves going, or it's a bit slow, or whatever, they're going to score a couple of goals, and that is the end of our Champions League campaign. But I don't want to focus on that too much at the moment, right this second, because there is still a slim chance. It's only a two-goal deficit and not a 4 like Barcelona, Dortmund. If it was that level, you would be kind of saying, I mean, it was 4 last I checked. You would be saying it was over then. So there's absolutely still a chance. It's just, like I say, the game ended 10 minutes ago and I just feel a bit sick.
Yeah, it is a bit raw. The thing is, I don't want this to be the Paris Saint Germain podcast where we talk about them all night, but they don't waste a pass. And not only do they not waste a pass, most of the passes are progressive going forwards. They don't keep the ball for the sake of it. They keep the ball to try and carve you open, as quickly as possible. I don't know. Listen, they've scored. Probably scored 3 worldies in a way. Because I thought the final goal was just class as well. Having that presence of mind to cut back inside when you've already put Martinez on his backside. I thought they were brilliant, and I was probably getting too excited jumping around the lounge when Rodgers has put us 1-0 up, thinking, oh, that's it, batten down the hatches, we'll get the 1-0 and then we'll complete the job at Villa Park. Listen, it's still game on. They're not infallible, but we're going to need something really special, aren't we?
Yeah. What did you make of the way that we played? Obviously, hindsight is 2020. I've already seen a lot of comments saying that we gave them too much respect or were too defensive. But to me, that was exactly what I expected. If we try and played more expansive than we did, we'd have lost heavily.
I mean, I think, Villa could have been more expansive. But that's, I think, one thing people are not understanding. They said the same thing after the Liverpool game. You have to understand that, yes, both Liverpool and Villa went in with a conservative defensive mindset. But even despite that, it was PSG who forced them to sit like that. Because every single time we had you pushed back, and then you won the ball back, and we were high up. You could have had a counter, but the ball got intercepted. We forced it to your goalkeeper who played the long ball, and then we won the ball. So it wasn't just you guys played that way. It was also you guys got forced to play that way. Like when teams come to the back now, like they're just forced to play that way and pray to God we don't put the ball into the net.
More heavy.
Lost by a larger margin, heavier. I don't know, Dan. It's all very well saying it in hindsight. Like you said, we'd have come away with a 2-1. We'd have actually thought, well, actually that's a pretty good outcome with the second half still to go, and the fact that we've had to take some pain tonight in terms of not getting much of the ball. I mean, if I'm being hypercritical, I think we're a bit scruffy and not looked after the ball well enough in certain times, but they swarm around you, in vast numbers and so quickly that it's easy for me to say that watching it on my television. But when you're the person on the ball and you've got players of that pace and that relentlessness all over you, I'm sure it's not that easy to keep possession.
Yeah, there's a comment here from Michael who said they're good, but we made them look that good. I disagree. They're that good. What you're saying there about us being scruffy, they did that to us. That wasn't us just having a bad day at the office and we didn't play particularly well.
Exactly.
Their press is relentless. There's a period towards the back end of the second half where they're running at you with 5 players. They're already winning. It's very difficult in that environment with that intensity. Now, this is going to sound obviously a stupid thing because I haven't just played the match. I feel drained just from watching it. Does that make sense? Do you feel the same?
Yeah, well, I was going to phone in sick for tonight's podcast, so I've not been very well anyway the last couple of days, and I put the germ in Paris Saint Germain. Even from my sick bed, I can still conjure up such creative beauties like that. So yes, I was drained before it started. After 10 minutes of it, I was more drained. By the time the 90 plus 3 was up, I'm a spent force, mate. I've got nothing left. So hopefully I'll be covering time to be back at Villa Park next Tuesday, and doing my bit. But like I said, I think the fact that we've jumped on 10 minutes after the final whistle, it is really, really raw, and probably we've still got 2-goal deficit against the team that's probably going to go on. Well, if they get past us, probably going to go on and win the Champions League this year. But maybe in the cold light of day, we'll just think, well, actually, okay, we are, I think you said the other day that for our form so far this year, calendar year 2025, we're 4th in the Premier League, and last season we obviously finished 4th in the Premier League. We're a pretty good team, So if we're clutching for positives, then this team is capable of taking the game to anybody. We've beaten Manchester City, Arsenal,
Bayern Munich,
behind closed doors, Bayern Munich in the last kind of 4 or 5 years. So we are capable. It's just like you said, that the fact that it's not going to affect them whether they were losing 1-0 or whether they were winning 3-1. They had to come to the park and play the same way. So we've got to be. I don't know what was tonight from a Villa perspective, a 7 out of 10.
Well,
to end it there, I think Villa played one of their best games, honestly, in terms of defensiveness, because maybe you think it's easy to sit back, but no, it's mentally very frustrating to sit back and just let the other team have the ball. And Villa accepted that. Villa compensated. Villa, you know, were in that position. It's just the individual brilliance. I mean, we could have sat here, Dewey shot hits the crossbar, Kvara shot hits the post, and Villa are 1-0. Maybe we get Fugazi 1-1. That could have been the end of the game, and Villa fans would have been extremely happy, and PSG fans would have been mad, but yeah, thank God for Dewey and Kvara with their 2 beautiful moments, and obviously Dambuz and Nuno there at the end. But yeah, those were the reactions after the game. A lot of high praise to Paris Saint Germain. Obviously, there is still a second leg. I say we are through, because I know and I expect Paris Saint Germain to at least have an 8 out of 10 at Villa Park. We'll win the game. We'll probably win the game and go through into the semi-final versus Arsenal. Well, that's been it. Hopefully, guys have enjoyed this video. And as usual, allez Paris.